It is always a pleasure to talk to you, Sir Ben. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
I watched the film yesterday and enjoyed it tremendously. It reminded me that all the themes of Kipling are so timeless. They're still here.
Yes.
Everything resonates today. Were you happy with that, and did it remind you too?
I probably share with you a great admiration for Gibran. And in his wonderful book, The Prophet, they ask him about children. And he replies, your children are not of you, they come through you. And you shoot them like arrows into the future. And I think Kipling was, in a British way, if you can translate that into British behavior, which is probably sterner, stricter, certainly in Kipling's background. But you do still have, in this beautiful film, the trajectory of an extraordinary orphan journey going through this rite of passage. And it's universal. It includes Gibran, Charles Dickens, Walt Disney. Look at Pinocchio, look at Bambi, look at Dumbo. All these themes reflect the journey of the child. And it's beautiful to participate in that as being one of the forces around the child that mold Mowgli into the adolescent and young man he's going to be. And I think when one contemplates Mowgli growing up, I think, lucky boy.
The spirit, the passion of children, your analogy is great, because it's really what this is all about, how we discover the world in a candid and reactionary way, instead of being forced into thinking something.
Sure,
this is what I respond to a lot.
Absolutely. And I think Jon Favreau has made some very loving and mature decisions into not shielding the young viewer or the young reader, the young viewer, as Kipling did not, the young reader, shield it from the dark side. A child will learn nothing if you remove all the dark elements of life. You're not preparing the child for anything other than terrible surprises. If you never, but in my experience as a parent, I know that the children, when they're in a safe place with mom or dad or in the cinema or a bedtime story, they'll huddle up closer when the scary bits come. And that's what's going to happen in the cinema. But they'll be in a safe place, learning about life from what's coming off the screen.
From an audience member point of view, I was so immersed in the story because of the way it was shot, because how the technology helps create a Bagheera that is so true to life. How is your point of view from an acting point of view? You are bringing to life a character in such an extraordinary form, basically.
When I'm offered a really good screenplay, I try to wonder how I'm related to, in something classic like Schindler's List, how am I related to the author? How am I related to the creative center? And honestly, I think Bagheera is the voice of Kipling in the film. I really do. It's wonderful that John gave me the opportunity to be the narrator of the film, and I'm deeply grateful for that, because it coincided more and more with my idea that I might be the voice of the book. I don't mean that in a pompous way.
No.
I mean it's a very glorious position to be in. So it allowed me to be very still in front of the microphone and to make sure that my words as the storyteller and my words as the teacher to the little boy, and therefore in turn my words to the audience, would ring true, would have some edge of urgency to them.
Yeah, because he's a real spiritual father, Bagheera, not a biological father with the emotional that comes with it. He has the wisdom of a spiritual father. That's how I've always seen him in the book and in the animation film. Do you agree?
I would take that, the spiritual analogy, I think I would take it a little further. If I could combine spiritual and military, I would. So I would say that he's a bit of a Zen warrior, definitely.
Definitely a Zen warrior. Were you at all a fan? You're obviously a fan of the book. Were you at all a fan of the cartoon, the animated version?
It came out at a time in my life when I was so busy building a career as a young actor. It just passed me by. I've caught up with snatches of it, but what we had there was an animated little boy surrounded by animated animals. What we have here is Neil Setti, a real little boy, surrounded by, to the eye of the viewer, real animals. It's extraordinary.
No, absolutely. And the 3D is even extraordinary, and the immersive experience makes it, quite a dreamy way to watch this film. This is what I enjoyed the most. How did you feel when you saw it the first time?
It's only a week ago since I've seen it. I was very delighted with it. I think John's hit exactly the right tones.
How important has it always been for you that every movie is an experience in itself, a different world, a different role, a different everything?
I think that the criteria for a good film is probably that the film is made in a way that's completely appropriate to the material, tick that one. That it's life-enhancing, tick that one. And that it's worth sitting through for an hour and a half to 2 hours in a dark room with other people, and it will hold that audience, tick that one.
What words of wisdom have you shared with Neil Sethi for his upcoming film career, if he wants to have one?
By example is the only way to be with one's fellow actors. How you conduct yourself on the set, how well prepared you are, and how you react to them, and how the work is completely collaborative. This is the way that actors bond.
On that subject, do you enjoy being directed by actors? Is it different than when you're directed by directors only?
Richard Attenborough was a marvelous actor, and he also directed many of the films that are his legacy. And he understands and was very sensitive to and aware of that very dynamic I was alluding to. And I think that a really good director who is experienced in acting knows the limits of the actor and knows how to organize that chemistry on the set.
In the many years, pardon me, in the many years that you've been active and successful in the film business around the world, what has changed fundamentally? Or has anything changed?
Probably from the age of 8, I decided to be an actor. And you're still talking to the same 8-year-old.
That's great. And how important is technology to the job of an actor? How attentive to it are you?
When I was recording Bagheera, I knew that there were cameras filming my face and that would help the animator. But my priority was to bring my voice to the microphone and then to the creature. So that really is that simple, uninterrupted act of the voice, of voicing the character is what's going on in the studio. You can't really be distracted with anything else.
Jon Favreau pointed out to me quite rightfully that some movies are made for the big screen. Do you still enjoy the experience of watching films on a big screen only, or are you a multi-medium kind of person?
So every year at award season, one is sent, because I'm an Academy member and a BAFTA member, a massive screeners, which of course I have to watch on the smaller screen. But now, with the advent of great television, the relationship between the big screen and the small screen is getting much more comfortable and much more level. So these are great times to be an actor.
And do you like 3D?
Uh, very rarely do I go and see a 3D film, but I think the 3D effect here is used with great skill. Hugo was in 3D as well, and I thought that was used with great skill. So if it's used judiciously to enhance the story, I think it can be wonderful.
Yeah, and it's a great example because it's used in the narrative of the film. You immerse yourself into the story. Hugo was one of those where you just kind of felt the snow on your elbows, basically. How close do you work with, the Martin Scorsese's or Jon Favreau into understanding how, when you make a film in 3D, it's a little bit different?
3D is evolving considerably, and when I worked on Hugo, the camera was massive, but lately the technique has shrunk the camera, and it's much more manageable now. I think for the actor, if the film is 3D, the actor, because the camera's scrutiny is so close, the actor has to do slightly less to tell the story. I think if you overact in 3D, it's catastrophic and grotesque. So you have to be very modest. And in order to be modest, you have to truly understand your character. But then that goes for all acting.